Welcome back with Mr. Lind
and Mr. Hunter. Today we're going to be talking about Christopher Columbus, but before we do that, we wanted to recap about this Viking Scandinavian culture. They're famous for island hopping from Scandinavia over here, all the way across to Iceland, Greenland, and then eventually to North America. And they were doing this about the year 1000 AD.
And if you guys are familiar with our subtraction method, Christopher Columbus got here in 1492, which means that the Vikings were here about 492 years, or about 500 years, before Christopher Columbus.
Crazy math going on there. Before we move on from the Vikings, would like to take pull up one of our viewer questions, maybe. Which was, did the Vikings and Indians eventually become friends? Were the American Indians scared of the Vikings? And how did the Vikings interact with American Indians? We got a lot of questions involving this. How did Vikings and Native Americans interact with each other? And, you know, there's no really right answer here, and it really goes to this quote that Hakeem talks about here, where historians have many different ways of finding out about the past, and sometimes we just don't know.
And other times we look at the evidence and make assumptions, but it's our job to try not to make assumptions and to try to just take the evidence for what it is.
Yeah, and as historians, when that evidence isn't there, sometimes we just say we don't know, and that's okay. Like, it'd be really easy to say, oh, these Vikings, they were warlike people, they were aggressive, so they probably fought with the Indians or conquered the Indians. But really, we don't know what the relations were like. So sometimes you just have to take that at what it is. So that moves us on to Columbus.
Columbus has become a pretty controversial figure. On one hand, he has his own holiday. On the other hand, he's got a lot of historical evidence stacked up against him that makes him look not so good.
You guys have been reading about him, so you probably have some idea of where we're getting at here. But really, a lot of you also asked the question of why is Columbus so famous if he didn't realize his discovery and if the Vikings were there first. But historian Martin Dugard does a really nice job of summarizing it right there by saying Columbus's claim to fame isn't that he got there first, it's that he stayed. So once Columbus arrives in America, this pattern of settlement and discovery, the two worlds really do collide after this point.
So,
the hero or villain treatment. Like we've done in ancient Civ and world history, where we've applied this treatment to people like Alexander the Great,
Genghis Khan,
and Julius Caesar, we're going to really put Christopher Columbus here to the test and debate. Is he a
hero
or is he a villain?
All right, for Columbus, he is definitely a hero because he was a great explorer. He had a really great sense of adventure, and he persevered when people doubted him and thought that he was going to fail. But he discovered this new world and really started the colonization of what we know today as America.
Discovered. So Columbus, he's a villain because most of the stuff he gets credit for is just a lucky mistake. He might be lucky. Maybe he's a lucky hero. But even then, once he did get there, he did a lot of really bad stuff and really abused these native peoples. So Columbus is a villain for sure.
Columbus is definitely a hero. He's a very educated man, and he took this education that he had and had an idea to help get Europe supplies easier from Asia and the Indies. And so he ended up going around asking people to help support him in his plan and pay for his travels. A lot of people turned him down, right? But Columbus had a growth mindset. He was going to persevere no matter what. Eventually, Spain ended up paying for his voyage and giving him the ships to go across the ocean. If Columbus didn't do this, he probably wouldn't have set up our world the way it is today. So, if Columbus doesn't make it across the ocean, then there's a pretty good chance that the colonization gets pushed off and the Europeans don't really end up colonizing America.
Really, Mr. Lynn, he's a hero. He might have had a growth mindset about never giving up and keep asking for help, but there's a reason people kept turning him down. Like the Portuguese, they knew that his calculations were way off. They had their own explorers who had calculated the Earth to be way bigger. And yeah, he discovered this new world, but if it was a happy accident, if that accident didn't happen, he totally would have ran out of food and supplies, and his ship would have been lost to sea, and they would have starved to death. He just got so lucky. And I don't think heroes rely on luck. Okay, so even if we accept that Columbus was this amazing explorer who discovered a whole new world, he's still a villain because of what he did once he got to that new world. When he got there, he was totally gold obsessed, totally greedy. He was totally one-minded. He just wanted to get rich quick. And he thought he was in the Indies. He didn't realize he was in this whole new continent because his math was so far off. He was using way outdated maps. And the way he treated the native population once he was in this new world is terrible. He enslaved them, he conquered them, and he used them just as a tool to try and find more gold and more wealth. So we know that Columbus is totally a villain.
A villain, Mr. Hunter? Are you serious? No way. Slaver, gold obsessed. All explorers were slavers and gold obsessed. That's why they did it. That was his job. So, is he a villain? No. He's definitely a hero. He created this new world. He helped us form these colonies and gave the Europeans the opportunity to use North America to help further them. Columbus is totally a hero because of the Columbian Exchange. He paved this path between North America and Europe where they could trade goods, they could trade crops, technology, civilization, religion, and he made a lot of money for Europe.
Wow, Mr. Lynn, you stole my villain argument. The Columbian Exchange is totally an example of why Columbus is a villain. Look at this one big thing here, this disease over here that gets spread from Europe to North America. Yeah, maybe food and technology was going both ways, but this disease totally decimated native populations, killing thousands, probably millions of Native Americans. How can you call someone a hero who's responsible for that?
Yeah, but did he really know he was doing this? Did he really know he was bringing diseases to these people? Is it really his fault? Would those diseases have come anyways? Well, Mr. Hunter, you make some really good points. I'm not so sure now.
I gotta admit, Mr. Lynn, you make some good points. He wasn't all that bad.
Well, I just don't know if we can decide this.
Maybe not. So as you guys read more about Columbus this week and as you really become the experts, let us know in class, let us know in our discussions what you think. Is Columbus a hero?
Or a villain?